Little Squirrel and the Mountain of Illusions. Chapter 2. The Mountain of Illusions. Follow your heart, little squirrel. There is no map to the mountain, no fixed path. Just follow your heart, and you will find your own way there. Without any hesitation, Little Squirrel left the ends of the earth for the Mountain of Illusions. She crossed the desert that stretched far beyond the horizon. Her little paws were scorched by the hot sand, but she kept going. After days of walking without stopping, one fine morning, Little Squirrel finally saw the shadow of a tall mountain appearing at the horizon. The mountain had a narrow path leading all the way up into the clouds. How long would it take to get to the top, she wondered. But it did not matter since she was already there, ready to climb. The mountain was barren and had no shade nor shelter. After a few days of steep climbing, Little Squirrel was starving and exhausted. Just then, a small village came into sight. The villagers welcomed the tired traveler. "Stay and rest the night with us, Little Squirrel." Little Squirrel could not refuse. Just one night of rest, she thought, and I will continue the climb the very next morning. The very next morning, she was ready to leave. "Stay one more day with us, Little Squirrel. You could enjoy more food and rest." Little Squirrel could not refuse. Just one more day, she thought, and I will continue the climb the very next morning. The very next morning came and went. The villagers always persuaded Little Squirrel to stay a while longer. Days went by. Little Squirrel remembered she still had a mission to accomplish. "Have dinner with us, Little Squirrel. Why are you leaving?" "Thank you, but I really have to go." So she left and continued her climb, despite the descending darkness of the night. Little Squirrel could hardly see her path in darkness. She was lost and panicked. "Do you need some help, Little Squirrel?" "Yes, in fact, I am lost, but I must get to the top of the mountain." "I can bring you a little closer. Want a lift?" Little Squirrel could not refuse. Such kindness, she thought. The owl grabbed the little squirrel by her neck and flew. Not long after, they landed on a tree. "Here we are, a little closer to the top, and my friends will be here shortly for dinner." "Dinner?" Other owls soon arrived. They hooted excitedly and looked at Little Squirrel with such interests that made her shiver. At that moment, she understood real danger. Her heart beat so fast, like a little drum. In a brief moment when the owls looked away, Little Squirrel made a dash for her life. After her narrow escape, Little Squirrel found her way back to the path and continued climbing. The air got colder higher in the mountain. The path was slippery because of frozen ice. Little Squirrel kept going. Then it started to snow. Little Squirrel was shivering. Her fur was not thick enough to keep her warm. "Come inside and warm yourself by my little fireplace." Little Squirrel could not refuse. "A little fireplace is really what I could use," she thought. A lonely wild cat lived in the cave. She was glad to have company. She treated the little squirrel sweetly, cuddled her to keep her warm. "Don't worry, stay here with me. You are safe." Little Squirrel could not refuse. "It is really nice and warm here," she thought. Days went by. Little Squirrel remembered she still had a mission to accomplish. "Don't go, Little Squirrel. It is cold outside." "Thank you, but I really have to go." The wild cat was crying. Little Squirrel left and resumed her way to the top, despite the freezing cold. She lost count of time and exhausted herself to the bones. But finally, Little Squirrel reached the mountaintop. Instead of finding the seed of magic, she only found a mirror lying on the ground. Little Squirrel and the Seed of Magic. Chapter 2. The Mountain of Illusions, to be continued.